Once again, I hope you had a fun, challenging, revealing session together last time. I hope you're already starting to see some of the fruit from your time together. But here's the thing. Even if you don't see a lot of fruit, a lot of life change right now, don't get discouraged. Sometimes it can take weeks or even months for the truths of these sessions to sink in with some guys. Some of it has to do with where they're at in their walk with Christ. Some of it has to do with what season of life they find themselves in right now. But whatever the case, just rest assured, God is using you. Now in this next session, we're going to look at a couple of more marching orders for us to follow if we're going to be a few good husbands. And the first marching order is that the husband is to love his wife sacrificially, and the second is that he cares for her enthusiastically. And these are such critical areas. It could probably be said that most husbands sacrifice for their wives, but I'd add a little caveat and say that most husbands sacrifice for their wives to a point. In other words, they'll make sacrifices until the cost seems too high. And when the tough times in marriage come, which they invariably do, men will end up wondering if they made some kind of mistake because marriage isn't supposed to be this hard. Now, although men make wedding vows that include the words like for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, these are words that usually get lost in the rapture of the wedding day. And I've found that few men have really had someone sit down and tell them that the essence of marriage is sacrifice. It's what marriage is all about. Once again, Paul makes this clear to us as he reminds us of Christ's example that he gave himself up for his bride, the church. In the same way, I believe many men think they care for their wives adequately. They could point to a number of things that they do for their wives that communicates care. The key thing here that many men seem to miss is that it's not just about what you do, it's about the attitude in which you do it. So often I've seen husbands bewildered by the fact that their wives will say, "I don't feel like you really care about me." They tell me about all they do for her, and then I'll ask them, "Would you say that you care for her enthusiastically?" And after stopping and thinking for a moment, most admit, "No, I haven't." All this to say, don't be surprised if in the discussion time for this session, you find some of the men being defensive or even evasive. Remember, some of them have been justifying their lack of sacrifice and enthusiasm for a long time. And it may take a while for it to sink in that they really have some repentance and some work to do in this area. I'd simply encourage you as you walk them through to ask questions, listen carefully to their answers, and then perhaps ask some follow-up questions that probe a little deeper. Don't settle for pat answers. And once again, don't underestimate the value of setting the pace with some personal examples of your own shortcomings in this area. I believe this can be a very powerful session for you and the men in your group. Make sure you're prayed up going into this session and then watch the responses. He moves in your group. God bless you, friend.